Everybody for coming. Good crowd. As you can see, we have a lot of excitement tonight. We have a couple different drones. We have Ms. Kristen Yankton from the city of Yankton, and we have Paul Schurslick, Aaron Hatchesky from Yankton County Emergency Management. They have some really cool drones. They each have different presentations. Kristen is going to start. She has a PowerPoint, and then Paul and Aaron have some different things they'll talk about. And as sort of a treat for everybody who stays around at the end, it sounds like there's a possibility that they can take them outside and fly them around. So we'll let them, that'll be kind of the final act too. So then if anybody, when we get to that point, we'll answer any questions, but it sounds like there's a possibility we could stay in here and Paul could take the drone out and we could see what it's recording, what it's showing us. So if we stick around for that, that'll be fun.
All right.
Any questions before we get started? If anybody needs anything, I'll be in the back of the room. We'll let Kristen get started, and then we'll hand it off to Paul here. Okay.
Thank you.
Does anyone in here have a drone already? Looking to buy one? Anything? Yeah? Good. So I'm Kristen Yankton. I'm just the GIS analyst for the city. Our drone is the one on the end there. We bought it maybe 3 years ago. And we've done a lot of different things with it so far. And I'll go through some of our applications that we've used ours for. And then Paul will go through some of the stuff he's used his for. And they vary quite a bit because his is obviously bigger and more capable. Let's see here. But today I just kind of threw this presentation together just to I didn't know where we all were in the room as far as what we knew. So perfect. So we're going to go through just drone 101, the types and sizes of drones there are, and then just the general rules and regulations, because that's kind of the most important thing when flying the drones. You have to follow the rules. And then again, I'll just go through kind of our stuff that we've done, and then Paul will go through the stuff he's done, and then we'll go fly. How's that sound? Good? All right, so there's kind of some different nomenclature as far as if you call it a drone, if you call it a UAV, is it UAS, you'll see these three different names kind of thrown around interchangeably. Most commonly, you'll probably hear the name drone because that's what you're going to hear in the media, any movies, TV shows, and that just refers to any unmanned vehicle or just operation at all. Anything that can be controlled remotely without a human pilot is a drone. And then UAV is a unmanned aerial vehicle, and then UAS is unmanned aircraft system. So the UAV is part of the UAS. The system encompasses everything. The UAV, the pilot, the control points, everything. Yep, the controller, everything. So that means that, let me see here. Yeah, so I always have to write this down. Every UAV is a drone, but not every drone is a UAV because a UAV refers to aircraft, whereas a drone can be an underwater operation. It can be an on-land drone, anything that is remotely operated. So that's why I'm going to use the terms UAV today, because you're going to see that in any technical or legal writings. You're not going to see drone. So that's why I'm trying to clarify the terminology here. But when you're speaking to people, everyone's going to throw around the term drone. So, and then there are a lot of different types of drones. There are the multi-rotor, which is basically the most common type. That's what Paul and I both have. They come in tricopter, quadcopter, hexacopter, and then octocopter. So 3 rotors, 4 rotors, 6 rotors, or 8 rotors. And then there's the other 3 types. Those are more for like the hobbyists. You're going to see those with, or bigger operations. The fixed wing, single rotor helicopter, and then the fixed wing hybrid, which is kind of interesting. It uses the copters to get off the ground and then flies normally like an airplane. It's very neat. And then within the the rotocopters. There's some different sizes. The toys are kind of what you buy your kids for Christmas. They're not going to be the most useful, but they're great for beginners, great to practice with, because they are so affordable. You can see that most of them are going to be less than $200. They don't have a ton of capability or safety features built in, but for recreational use, they're going to be great. And then there's the middle ground, which is what I call the prosumer. They're consumer grade for everyone, but they have so many tools and features that it's almost like you're using a professional piece of equipment. They have a flight time of 18 to 40 minutes. Ours will go about 20 minutes, I will say, on a single battery. Ours doesn't carry anything. Paul, does yours have a
The
payload?
small one on the end can carry up to a 5-pound payload with a drop system.
Nice, yeah. So they're capable of carrying things if you need them. But then the cost can range anywhere from $1,000 to $15,000. So still semi-affordable for you and I or a bigger business. So some of you said you kind of were first-time drone enthusiasts, we'll call you. So I just kind of put together a few tips for a first drone experience. One, just don't go out and buy the most expensive drone on the market. You'll want to practice some, and most likely you're going to crash a time or two. So you get one that's affordable, and then practice just easy flying patterns, forward, back, square, circle, before you really get into your first, project that you're really working on. Just get comfortable with it. Get comfortable, as you're turned, your camera will be pointing one way, but your controls will go differently because the drone has a front and a back, but your camera can be pointed a different direction. So like I said, you just got to get comfortable with the controls. And then there's this flight checklist that I have, and I carry it everywhere I go. It's super handy because I can't tell you how many times I've gone out and I've forgotten my SD card, or I forgot to check the weather, or the batteries, make sure those are charged. It just gives you a perfect list of everything you need to do before you go, while you're there, before you take off, because safety is key with these, right? Anything could happen. It could be dangerous. When you first take off, it'll hover there for a few seconds. Just make sure it looks okay, it's not wobbling, because a battery could come loose in the middle of the air, it could drop out of the sky, and hit a car, hit a person, anything. So safety is key with these. So kind of getting into unarguably the most important topic of today, but maybe the most boring. I don't want to lose you guys here, but it is, the rules and regulations are the most important thing when flying a drone, either recreationally or for a business or for any other purpose. But surprisingly, there aren't a lot of rules. It's mostly common sense is what I'll say, but there are some laws that we do have to follow. The biggest question I get is, do I need a license to fly? And if you fly recreationally, the answer is no. But recreationally doesn't leave a lot of room to do anything. You can fly it up in a big field, just hobbyist kind of stuff. You want to fly around in the field, take some photos, but anytime you go any further than that, if you want to take a photo to help sell a property, any roof inspections, sports events, promotional items, anything where you're going to be flying over a large area of people, anything that supports a business or somebody's business, anything you do for someone else, that's generally considered not recreational flying, and you have to operate under Part 107. And Part 107 basically means you have to get that commercial license. It is called the remote pilot certification is what you have to get. So if you're a first-time pilot, which most of you are, if you're not a general pilot already, you will have to be at least 16 years old, be able to read, speak, write, understand English, be in a physical, mental condition to safely operate a drone, and then pass the aeronautical knowledge exam, which is the big one. You have to pass this test. So you have to study for it. It's the closest location. You have to do it at an FAA approved testing center. And the closest one that I know of is in T, and it's $125 to pass to do this test. So again, to get a startup going, it's relatively cheap with the drone and the test to get going. That's basically all you need to do. If you are a pilot already, all you have to do is take a training course and fill out a form. Much, much simpler. But they already know all the airspace information that they need. So that's kind of what that test covers. And then just the other requirements is once you have your license, you have to carry it with you at all times whenever you fly. And then every 2 years, you just have to take your training course again, just to kind of keep up on things. The other rules that you have to follow, whether you're recreational or you have your license, is that every drone over 0.55 pounds has to be registered with the FAA. And that's super simple again. It's a $5 fee, and then you just have to mark your drone, keep it marked with your registration number. So ours is just this little thing there. But at least then the FAA has your drone registered and knows it's in the sky. And then the other biggest thing is just to, like I'm going to say 1,000 times, stay safe and stay current up on the rules and regulations, because they're relatively new and there's different rules and laws coming out all the time trying to regulate these things. So it is changing fairly often. But a lot of it, again, is common sense. So always fly your drone safely within the FAA guidelines and regulations. Keep your drone within visual sight or use another person that has an eye on it that is close and can tell you if anything's going wrong, or with a radio. And then you have to fly at or below 400 feet. Anything above that is regulated through the FAA. Below it, you're fine, but we do have an airport in town that does have a zone, I guess I'll say, a geo zone that we have to unlock if you're going to fly within that area. And I also do call the manager out at the airport every time I fly within that zone, just to keep them, just to make sure they know that there is a drone going up. Do not operate in restricted airspace. Pretty self-explanatory, but we do have 2 areas in town. There are restricted airspaces. It's above the jail and above the prison. You're not able to fly your drone into those areas. And with ours, it won't even let you get close. You can push forward all you want and it's just going to stop you. It won't go forward. The system knows that those are restricted and won't let you in. Do not fly directly over people or vehicles. Again, it's a safety thing. If the battery should become disconnected, it could fall out of the sky, harm somebody. And then the state law, it does say to not photograph, film, or record unsuspected people that have a reasonable right to privacy in their private location. Basically, do not fly your drone over to your neighbor's property to film them mowing their lawn. That's illegal. It is a misdemeanor. And then do not land on private property without authorization, I guess. But as a drone pilot, it is up to you, as a UAV pilot, sorry, to know the rules of the sky and where it is safe to fly. So it's up to you. No one's going to tell you this. You have to go to the website and learn all these things. I can't cover everything today, but if you're really going to get into this, you have to keep up on the rules and regulations. So getting into our drone, the cities, we have a DJI Phantom 4 Pro. I don't believe they're in production anymore. The Mavic is more the line that it would closely follow. But for us, it was a relatively cheap cost to get into it. So it was $2,200 with all the accessories and batteries to get going. And then we have a few equipment and programs that we had to purchase to do everything that we've wanted to do. And I'll kind of cover what all our programs do, but with the controller we have, there were two types, and mostly now are the ones with the screen built in. You don't have to have the iPad, it's just all built into the controller itself. But we have the iPad, and on the iPad we download DJI Go 4. That's the program that makes the drone fly. It has all the tools and gadgets and everything to make it super easy to fly. And then we also use Pix 4D Capture, which it talks to the drone and it goes up, and it's for us to make our own imagery. So I'm a GIS analyst, I make maps. Base map imagery is really important to us. If we have a newly constructed area, like West Side Estate or Westbrook Estates, that was fairly new, that's not on our imagery, we can fly that area and then stitch it into our imagery. So we have totally current imagery at all times. And then we have Drone to Map, which also helps us do the exact same thing. Pix4D will take all the photos, Drone to Map stitches them all together and makes that image. And then our drone doesn't take what I will say, it takes fantastically high resolution photos, but the color seems a little drab. I'm not a photographer at all. If I had filters and knew what I was doing, maybe I can make them prettier, but just off the camera itself, I don't really love them for promotional items, for making, for showing people how beautiful our city can really be. So I use Adobe products like Lightroom to enhance photos, and then Premiere to create videos. There are obviously Windows built-in programs that'll do the same thing for editing photos and videos. So those are just the two that I end up using. So some of the projects we have done are promotional mostly. We'll take photos around town for our website. We will take photos of kind of some of our blank economic properties for investors. We'll take photos inside of our facilities. So we did a lot with the Summit Center recently, inside of the pool, the gym, and the weight room. And then all this stuff gets put on our website, our social media, just again to show how beautiful our city is and our facilities that we have. We do a lot with construction projects. With the pool, we ended up doing flights about every 2 weeks to take construction progress photos. With the new construction of the trail going on with the flood and everything, those projects are so big that it's hard to see the progress from the ground. So to get up high so you can see and show people what's really happening has been very helpful to the public. And then the corner one was kind of fun. This past winter, there was a lot of snowfall this past winter, and the city trucked out a lot of snow, and they piled it kind of by the Chamber building. And then we had 3 locations, by the Chamber building, on this property actually, which is the cemetery property, and then by the landfill. So we flew and got an aerial calculation of the area, and which allowed us to calculate the volume of snow that was moved out of the city. So all sorts of different applications here, kind of related to our job. I'm sure Paul has a whole bunch more that are far more interesting. But like this one, I don't know if it'll let me play or not. No, I don't know how to make it play, but it was just showing the the construction photos of the pool we took. I took those aerial images every 2 weeks, laid them on top of each other in the video editor, and then it just kind of cycles through and you get to see this time lapse of all the construction of the pool that happened from beginning to end. It was kind of neat. I'm sad you guys don't get to see it, but this kind of shows, so the photo up in the upper left corner is a photo right off the drone. Kind of drab, kind of boring, not really what you want to put on a website, not really what you want to put on Facebook, social media. So we edit almost all our photos just to kind of bring some more life to them. Oh, and this is the same video. Oh, this one, please. This was the snow calculation that I was telling you about. So we took the aerial photos, calculate the area, and then we just put together a video also to put on social media using that Adobe Premiere is what we ended up using. But like I said, once you get up in the air, you get to see like the magnitude of what you're trying to show people. From the ground, it just looks like a bunch of little piles of snow, but from the air, you get to see really how much snow the city moved out. So that's kind of what we've done with our drone, but Paul, do you want to tell them and show them what you've done?
Well, I can go, do you want to do anything, show anything on your drone?
Nope.
Talk about any of that?
No.
All right, well, if you want to plug in that thumb drive, we can just let it play in the background.
Oh,
Because it will go, once you load it, I stitched about 4 or 5 videos together.
Okay.
I think it's about 18 minutes of video. But we can start here. Both Aaron and I are pilots for, we're with emergency management. We originally got the first drone over here. This is what they call a Matrice 210. It was a 200, and we did a dual camera platform. So we actually have high resolution 4K camera on here, and this is a thermal imaging camera over on the other side, which then made it what they call a 210. It's a dual battery system. The batteries that are in it, it takes 2 of these to make it fly for about 28 minutes. The temperature, it can be below 0. They heat up. There's heaters in them because everybody knows a warm battery will go along as longer than a cold battery. So, but when we put the two in here, like I said, it's about 28 minutes. It'll fly in 35, 40 mile an hour winds. We had it out this spring on some of the fires they had out in the county here flying, so we can give them an idea of what was going on out there for the, on the incident. But this is a 30 power zoom camera, so we're able to zoom in on. We did a training exercise with the police department and the sheriff's office, like an active shooter, and found out that somebody did a fake bomb on the gate, and it was a Nokia cell phone model, something or another. But you were able to zoom in from a quarter mile away and just see that phone and read what the serial number was, not the serial number, what the model of it is. So they knew what was going on. You can see with our drones, and I'm sure looking at water using thermal, you can't see thermal. It's like, it's like looking at a glass. But if somebody's head pops up, you see that warm head, so then you can see it in the reflection. But this is a dual controller system. These are what they call crystal sky screens. They're designed for the sun or daylight, so you can read. They're very visible, so that you can see what's going on. Because I don't like tablets and cell phones. If it's bright out, they're really hard to. From 19, they can't get to it, so we decided we'll go out there. It was training for us with the new aircraft. We went out there, flew it, got a video of what's going on. It's a big mess going on out there, so we'll have to figure it out. This was a video that we were just doing training, and you'll see in it, there's cows. And in this case here, white is hot. You can set it up many different ways. You can go black is hot, you can go orange is hot, red is hot. Basically any spectrum of the rainbow. It's whatever who's looking at it feels comfortable of what's going on. This camera has a low resolution and a high resolution thermal imaging camera. So if it's really hot during the day, you can actually focus in a lot harder and better to see imagery, where the old camera over here might just see a blur. It might have been something, wasn't it something? So you gotta stop. This one here is really crisp and it just made it that much better. The device that we're working on right now is that I know during the 2019, we flew this drone for the city over the creek, and I found out we didn't have the stitching software. It was just cameras, so it didn't work for them. But we're looking at doing some software that will help law enforcement do accident reconstruction. That's a big thing. And then we're also getting a box that allows us to, Aaron can take, or whoever's the camera person, you plug it into this box, it works off of Wi-Fi. I send you a text you an email, a link, and you can put it on your phone, you log into it, and you can watch what we're flying. And we think it's very important for something like that for law enforcement, to where, like the other day when we were out looking for that person in the trees, we had 20 law enforcement officers trying to look at this screen. And it gets kind of crowded, especially when we're talking to each other saying, stop, because we're coming, go left, go right, and where'd he go, or he go, and so we can put that on their phones and they can stand in there, sit in their car and stay cool while we're out flying. But we've done a lot of missions on this, so that was a building out there, a blind for hunting deer. But we do all kinds of, like I said, we've flown the blue towers, both of them here in town. We've flown them in other towns because there's radio tower, or communications have gone down. But anything else, we just kind of stay at home. One thing we did learn, if you do get a drone, if you go out test flying it, you cannot fly a drone in a national park. And if you all know, the Missouri River is a national park. So you can take off from the city's land, fly over the river and come back and land, and you're okay. But don't land, you don't want to land in the river. But if you landed on their property, technically they can it's there, they'll take it because it's illegal. But the law allows you can't take off and land on federal property, just like you talked about doing some other stuff. But that was a big thing. And we've got arrangements made with the Corps and with the national park that we can fly the river because we're not out there goofing around taking pictures and selling postcards. We're looking for somebody, or we'll look at whether we can somebody climb the bridge and we need to, how we're gonna get them down. We can do a quick assessment on that. We flew the drone in a cold spell a couple of years ago, found out where a person had fallen through the ice, and we were able to identify the hole with the drone, and then that's where we took the mission and did the rest of it. But it's been a very valuable asset to us since we've had it. So, okay, questions, there's gotta be questions, yes?
I'm a little confused with the no-fly zones. How does it know not to, or that it just will abruptly stop? Is there a signal or something?
Yes.
That
FAA.
scrambles or something?
It's built into the software, the
Oh.
program of the drone.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And so it'll follow the FAA maps.
Oh, all right.
And so the FAA automatically has no fly zones. And so the drones have those maps. And
What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start one of our controllers. It won't take off. Famous last words.
At least with ours, you'll see on the map, there's like red squares over the prison and the jail.
This will be the same way. We'll show it.
You just get it.
What it does is it goes through a segment of series of tests, making sure the lights are gonna stay red on it because it's not picking up any satellites within the building here. It might pick one up, a few, but we've got. Yeah, the only thing I don't like about the waste from China. So we have me back up here. So this is I'm trying to get out of here. This is the pilot beam. So you can see the red circle in the middle. That tells me where all my senses are at. So if that starts turning yellow, that means I'm getting close to something. And right now, red. And it's telling me I got stuff all around me, so I better be aware. So if I switch the camera, this now is the camera for what the pilot runs. So right now I have control of the camera. So I can turn the wheel. On hers, when Aaron is flying or I'm flying, the joysticks run the cameras. So this flies it, and that one over there runs the cameras. So then if I go to thermal, oh, come on, switch. don't you take it, Aaron? You can go over,
We wouldn't need it.
on the thermal. Come on. I don't think they're,
It's not synced up.
no, so anyway,
Obtain animal control. Obtain
there,
animal
now you
control.
go.
I know. So, is your thermal?
And her joysticks will run the
My
the cameras
joysticks
over
run
there.
the camera. I basically stole control from him. And then if I want to split screen, I can split screen. So it'll show, like right now, it's looking over there, so. There you go.
Their Wi-Fi is.
Yeah, we're having a little problems because it's a brick building, and we usually don't use it.
But like you were, like if she was saying that there'll be like a map of Yankton, like you go to Google Maps, and they'll show the restricted flight area. There'll be, on ours, it shows it's blue, that is what I call the flight plan, or the flight, how airplanes land at the airport. There's a zone that you have to get permissions to take off in. Here, if we go outside and get everything hooked up, we will be in that. And I can just hit agree, be cautious, and away we go. If we get too close to the airport, 29th Street and further out, you gotta take a few more steps, because it's like, you're really close, do you really wanna fly? But it will let us fly because of the permissions that we have. So, but with that, yeah, it does, we can videotape, we can take pictures, same thing hers will do, but it's just the idea that we, it's just a little more fancier. They're both great. This was our first, I had one of these originally years ago, not a 4, I had a 3. And a friend of mine bought one, he used to check pivots with it. So make sure they were squirting on every nozzle on a center pivot. Instead of walking the whole thing and getting wet, he just flew over me, you could look down and see it, went to the next field. So we kind of got attached back, and then our first drone that we had for the search and rescue was a hexacopter. And once we got that drone, the guy said you won't have any troubles flying that because you were flying a tank before. Because it was really difficult. It had a GoPro camera on it that it was just tough to see, because that camera was also what you flew with. It didn't have a second camera as a pilot. So if you were looking over here and flying, you were like you're good.
This is an exercise we did down in Nebraska. You can see the kids walking off the bottom. We actually did a drone flight for them. Like I said, it was an exercise of an active shooter in the school. So you'll see in a little bit, we actually flipped it to IR, and we could follow the kids from when they left the school to when they got to their safe
There you
zone
go.
and reunification center.
These are kids.
So we could follow them the whole way to make sure they were safe the whole way to there.
And the other thing it allowed us to do is see if there were any bad people on the roof of a school, or if there were any hiding someplace else. We helped, it was down in Wayne County
Yeah,
that we did this at.
like I said, it was an exercise. We just assisted, but yeah.
And we did this, and we were, the EM down there had us come down and do this, because he thought maybe the sheriff, after seeing it, would buy one, but he never did. He says, we'll just call it Yankton. So, that didn't fail, backfired on him. So, but is any other questions? I mean, I know there's gotta be ton, or maybe you don't know, but like I say, in here, not everything has worked. They all work basically the same, just there's a few more whistles and bells and buttons to push, and sometimes that's worse, because it does so much more, and when you're out trying to fly, we have built a little light, or got a little light stand so that you can actually fly at night, because we can turn on the spotlight, or with a strobe light. We got light in here now, if it gets dark, the strobe light flashes, but you can't see all the buttons that are on here. So you might have to have something to where you can see. For me, it don't matter. When I'm flying, I just got 2 buttons to worry about: up, down, around, and back at home. So it's easy. The camera person, and again, both Aaron and I fly, but it's the idea that each has a task. The camera person, though, has more buttons to push, because it zoom in, go out, clear. Like I say, use IA so it can follow you. We've never used that yet, but it's just a means to do stuff. See, what she's seeing, I can actually see on mine also. But if I go back to here, this is my pilot. This is what I'm flying. But I wanna say, like, geez, follow this creek or this tree line, so I can go back and look, oops, wrong one, I can see, oh, there's the tree line, so I can make sure I'm on it, even though I'm thinking I'm on it, but is what she's looking at, am I on it? So it helps out a lot that way.
What are your controls, like you don't run into a tree or crash in the water? Does the AI know not that it's water and it's not?
No, the drone doesn't sense water.
I can go out and crash in the river and that's the end of it,
That's
right?
it, yeah. They actually, for $600, you can buy a device that when it gets wet, it blows up like an automatic life jacket. It gets wet, but I mean, you don't lose it. It's one of those deals, we found out that for insuring it, the insurance is cheap, but you can't get replacement cost on insurance. Unless you go to a drone company that actually serves it. The stuff that we have locally, and even our public safety insurance, we're covered for liability, like if I crash into a car or somebody's house, or like battery drops out, we covered that, but to get a total replacement. That's why when we fly the river or the lake, it's like, no wind, nice calm day, sunny, maybe we'll go out a little ways, because that water always makes me leery, but you see in the video, we'll go out a long ways to look for somebody, because you can cover so much ground so much quicker. I don't know how long we got here, I'm taking up all your time,
No, you keep going. Fascinating.
but, the chargers, we have chargers, these are 4 battery chargers that we can constantly, I carry a 2200 watt generator in the back of my pickup. So we plug it in, we run battery, we can fly 24 hours a day until either generator out of gas or I need to take a break, or we give somebody else the controllers. Other search and rescue members, our pilots, they're 107 licensed, so they can fly. If we have one of our pilots there, that's 107 licensed, anybody can fly, but he is if something happens, he's at fault, if you know what I mean. So we have other people who fly, so you can actually fly all the time if you're looking for something. So it's very, very, very valuable tool, but they both have chargers. We have 4 batteries for each, and that'll keep us going nonstop. And everything and again, the technology, remember I said that one, we get low on batteries, we gotta stop and shut it off. This one here, there's even a battery in the back of the controller that's in here, but there's also an internal battery. So if this one gets low, I can pop it out, this one keeps going, bring a new battery, pop it in. But they get about 8 hours on this battery. The other ones are a little more, because they have the horsepower, if you will, that runs those. But, so anyway, that's all. More questions?
You want to fly?
Just that starting, I mean, it sounds like the way to go is start with a toy for 101.
Yep.
I mean, you don't want to obviously try with something like that, so.
No. I mean, and yeah, starting out, I mean, I know there are places that sell drones, and they're great drones. But the thing that, how do I want to say this? If you follow the 107 rules, the rules will get tougher as time goes on. And that's what's killing us, is that we have, a friend of mine bought a drone, and on his little drone, there's a switch, and I have the switch on this one. Well, this one actually toggle, it says NSF, and it's novice, and F is for fast. So, well, that scared me so hard. He took a shot, it went straight up, come straight down, and went in a million pieces. It was broke. But flying it in places that you shouldn't be, or not knowing what's going on, and damage, that's what makes our rules, getting licenses, tougher. Because look at the people who fly, take their drone out because they want to see the wildfire. That shuts down whole air operations for a wildfire because they got drones in the air. And until they catch that person, they can't put aircraft back up, or they have to have somebody monitor that area where that drone was at. So, I mean, if they're dropping slurry and water and stuff on planes, and all of a sudden see there's a drone, everything gets grounded until they can get that out of the air. That's killing us. I mean, because now the rules get stricter. You gotta do this and this, and, you used to fly off of federal property when you can't no more. I'm sure that had something to do with it, but all I can say is if you buy a drone, just follow the rules. And you had a very good layout of what the rules were. We have checklists that we follow, making sure that we don't do anything wrong and stuff like that.
We have flown a mission with the State Highway Patrol they came in. As long as we didn't go above 400, we were able to both fly in the same area. So we have figured out how to fly in coexistence with our larger planes and partners.
Newer technology.
Yeah.
The old one, I think, would have landed. Just because it's older technology.
So with the four, you had mentioned that too, like there's kind of a top you could.
400 feet.
400 feet.
And I assume there's something, is it sort of like the no-fly zone as well, that
Mhm.
like blocks you from flying higher?
Our aircraft, I can fly up to 3,000 feet if I set it to that height. But the thing keeps talking to me saying, you're above, or it tells me you're getting closer, you know, to stop. But to go higher, we actually can, I can override that in the controller, but I don't want to get caught doing that. Because if somebody, the only time that we can legally fly over 400 feet is like out here at the WNX towers. If within a 300-foot area, circle around that tower, I can fly 400 feet higher than that tower on a rescue mission. So like if somebody climbed up it and you want to know what's going on, you could fly up there, because that's higher than 400 feet. But as long as I stay within that 300-foot circle of that tower, I can go up as high as I can, or 400 feet higher than that. But, you know, people know we're flying, because their transponders and their airplanes go off because we're sending a signal out in ours. So if we're up at 800 feet, my first drone, I had it so high, I didn't think it was ever coming back down. Because I was goofing off, I didn't know no better back, I didn't even have a license back then. But it was cool, that was not the county's, my own. And it's like, when I came down, it took like forever. I have no idea how high it was, because it didn't tell you that. But it was like, I thought that was cool, but when it disappeared, it's like, oh, where'd it go? Because also you have to deal with the wind. Because the higher you go, there could be more wind, and the wind could push it down, because the older ones didn't have the capacity to stay in one spot. With ours and yours, with the four, you can go up at 100 feet, let it park, and go take a nap, and come back, and it's still gonna be there as long as there's battery power. It will not move from that spot. It's that smart. It's got a GPS, or, you know, the satellites are locked in. But when it comes home automatically, ours, and I'm pretty sure yours probably is pretty simple. Ours actually, according to what the dealer told our salesperson, it takes a picture when it comes up and takes, so when it comes back, it tries to line it back up to land. Otherwise, it's gotta, you know, can I land here? Because it's over water. It won't land on water, because that's a different picture. You know, taking off of my tunnel cover off my pickup. The new one does not like that, because it's got a different grainy fabric, if you will, or it isn't the rocks that it's taking off of the road. So, or the asphalt. So, I mean, it's, like I said, it's a lot smarter than that one, and it's a lot smarter than the guy flying. But they're a very valuable tool. Yes?
Does anybody ever complain of lasers being shot at the cameras, like they do
We
in
have
airplanes?
I have it around here, I mean, but, you know, but then if they're shining at it, we're probably not looking that way. We're a pilot's kind of got a peripheral view of everywhere. You know, unless we're flying that way and they're happen to be down, or we're flying at them, you know. But I have never had that, I mean, personally.
Yeah, just curious.
Yeah, it's a good question. No.
I have a drone. I flew it when I first got it, but I haven't for a while. A little over a year ago, I think I got it. And I just, the basic rules for, it probably came with the thing, but I'm not sure I have. I know I still have them, but where?
Right, well, the quickest way to do it is Google Part 107, and that'll bring you up the rules for drones, or UAS. It's kind of ironic when you were talking about the different platforms. We also, at Search and Rescue, have an underwater drone, or UAS, that allows us to search for people underwater. And what's really cool, it's got a 500-foot cord, and it'll go 500 feet deep. And we've actually found, we've had a success with it, I'll leave it at that, we have it on there. But the idea, what it was, or not the idea, but the funny thing about it is use a PlayStation 2 controller. That's how it works, it just goes out, and I said, heck, we should just get kids in here to run this thing, because all us older guys, what the hell's a PlayStation 2? You know, and so it's works slick, but that's how it operates. But the same technology, just some knobs and up and down, because the thrusters forward and back. And you can find everything. We didn't bring video for that, that's a whole different topic, but there are different platforms. It's on, there's nobody in it. I mean, especially happened the other day with the one that kind of went, I don't know if I ever want to go in one, but anyway, that's, anything else? I mean, you gotta have some questions, more stuff. You can't be done.
Basically done.